We have quorum. We have quorum. We can start. We start our afternoon session with the examination of the draft decision 43-8B.20, connected with the inscription of Bagan from Myanmar. Can I ask ICOMOS to start the presentation, please?
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The ICOMOS report for the evaluation of Bagan in Myanmar can be found in document Inf 8B1 on page 166 of the English version and 150 of the French version. This is a revised nomination. Bagan Archaeological Area was nominated to the World Heritage List in 1995. In 1997, ICOMOS recommended that the nomination be referred back to the State Party to address issues related to the boundaries, management, conservation approaches, archaeological investigations, management arrangements, and planned developments. Bagan is located on a bend in the Irrawaddy River in the central dry zone of Myanmar. The property has 8 components with a single encircling buffer zone. Bagan is a sacred landscape which features an exceptional array of Buddhist art and architecture, demonstrating centuries of the cultural tradition of Buddhist merit-making. The nominated area provides evidence of the Bagan civilization between the 11th and 13th centuries, a period when restibutional Buddhism became a mechanism of political control. Bagan was a substantial city in a relatively resource-poor region and depended on the flows of goods from religious and political exchanges. The traditions of merit-making resulted in an increase in temple construction, peaking in the 13th century. Intangible attributes of the property are reflected in Buddhist worship and merit-making activities, pilgrimage, traditional cultural practices, and farming. The serial property of 8 components consists of 3,595 recorded monuments, including stupas, temples, monasteries, and other structures for Buddhist spiritual practice, extensive archaeological resources, inscriptions, murals, cloth paintings, and sculptures. The property is a vast, complex, and layered landscape of elements of different historical periods, styles, and scales. The property also incorporates parts of 7 villages and 2 towns and is a complex living community. The landscape is largely intact, despite some individually intrusive elements and varying states of conservation. Earthquakes damaged a number of stupas and temples in 1975 and 2016. The State Party and its partners have made commendable progress in recovering from the damages of this latest disaster, and disaster risk management arrangements are now in place for Bagan. The way in which the nomination of Bagan has been presented by the State Party, reflecting both its historical significance and continuing cultural practices, is compelling. Criteria 3, 4, and 6 are demonstrated. Although potentially vulnerable, the property meets the requirements for integrity. Management of future pressures, including the sustainability of tourism, are important. The quality of life of Bagan's people is central to sustaining its values. While authenticity has been impacted by earthquake damage, natural deterioration, and some intrusive developments, the property is nevertheless notable for the extensive presence of original historic fabric, archaeological resources, murals, sculptures, combined with the ongoing traditions of Buddhist worship and merit-making. ICOMOS notes that the State Party has made commendable progress in reversing some of the inappropriate conservation interventions of the past. During the course of the evaluation, exchanges between ICOMOS and the State Party have resulted in minor adjustments to the boundaries and buffer zones of several components. The main factors affecting the property are urbanisation, future tourism growth, inappropriate development, particularly of hotels and other tourism infrastructure, natural deterioration and earthquake damage. These have been factored into the management system by the State Party, and ICOMOS has included a number of recommendations for continuing effort in the draft decision. The State Party has recently amended its heritage law, an essential step for ensuring adequate legal protection for Bagan. The integrated management framework is comprehensive and soundly conceived, but has yet to be fully implemented. The further use and elaboration of heritage impact assessments, strategy for the siting and design of existing and future hotel developments, and sustainable tourism planning are priorities in the view of ICOMOS. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that Bagan in Myanmar be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3, 4, and 6, and has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. A draft statement of outstanding universal value is included. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments? Yes, please. We have Uganda, then China, please.
Mr. Chairman, the Ugandan delegation has carefully reviewed the ICOMOS narrative and appreciates the strong evidence and justification for nomination of Bagan of the State Party of Myanmar onto the World Heritage List. In this regard, the Ugandan delegation is pleased to support the draft decision to inscribe this property on the World Heritage List and congratulates the State Party of Myanmar. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. China congratulates the State Party of Myanmar for this nomination, and we also appreciate the very important and comprehensive review by ICOMOS and the nomination by World Heritage Center. Bagan is an outstanding sacred cultural landscape featuring an exceptional array of Buddhist and architecture, Buddhist art and architecture, demonstrates centuries of Buddhism tradition and culture of the Bagan period. Chinese heritage experts have been privileged to participate in the conservation of this important heritage. China wishes to congratulate Myanmar on its inclusion on the World Heritage List and is aware of the difficulties and pressure in the protection and management of this heritage property. China is willing to continue to work with Myanmar and contribute to the protection and the inheritance of this important heritage of humankind. China supports the draft amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Spain, please.
Gracias, presidente. Bueno, yo creo que estamos ante un bien en el que todos los miembros del comité nos tenemos que sentir absolutamente privilegiados de poder participar en la inscripción de Bagan. De hecho, tengo que decir que personalmente conozco el sitio, estuve hace un par de años y la única pega que ponía era que no encontraba el logo de la UNESCO, porque nunca pensé que este sitio todavía no formara parte de la lista de Patrimonio Mundial. Se nota que es un sitio que se lleva trabajando muchísimos años, desde luego, como ha dicho muy bien, ICOMOS desde el año 1996, y ese trabajo está ahí. Y después, con este empujón que ha tenido en los últimos 5 años, ese trabajo continuado se refleja completamente en el expediente. Nuestros expertos, además, han disfrutado muchísimo con la cartografía, es absolutamente excepcional, tanto desde un punto de vista cuantitativo como cualitativo. No estamos acostumbrados a ver, y más en este sitio, que tiene esa dimensión que es absolutamente sobrehumana. El poder ver esa cartografía, pues realmente es un auténtico privilegio. Así que, bueno, por supuesto, estamos completamente de acuerdo con la inscripción de este sitio y lo extraño es que no estuviera ya inscrito en la lista de Patrimonio Mundial. Muchísimas gracias, Myanmar, por la presentación y el esfuerzo que han hecho, porque realmente es de una dimensión increíble. Tienen un reto muy importante, sobre todo el plan de gestión. Y la verdad es que sería una buenísima noticia que se lo tomaran en serio y que Bagan se convirtiera también en un paradigma de sistema de gestión de un bien seriado como es este. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Indonesia would like to take this opportunity to support the recommendation of the advisory body to inscribe Bagan sites in the list of the World Heritage. We commend Myanmar for taking successful effort to fulfill the criteria 3, 4, and 6 of the Outstanding Universal Values, for which Bagan was nominated, and also to maintain the integrity and authenticity of the site that must have been an arduous task considering the vast and complexity of the site. We look not of detailed recommendation concerning a number of aspects of the site and encourage Myanmar to fulfill the recommendations in order to maintain Bagan in the World Heritage List. Our congratulations to Myanmar for the first inscription of UNESCO World Heritage Site. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Norway would like to join the massive congratulations to the distinguished State Party of Myanmar for its nomination of this wonderful place on earth. Bagan is really a pearl that will enhance the relevance and reputation of the World Heritage List. We hope that the designation of World Heritage status will gain the site and the social life of the people living there. We do so well aware that Bagan most likely will face considerable challenges in the handling of tourism, which may grow extensively and pose impacts on both the physical appearance of the site as well as on its social life. This is reflected in the long list of recommendations to the State Party. The values are extremely vulnerable, so a sustainable tourism strategy will have to be made according to the highest standards set by UNESCO. So again, as we share the happiness, we also hope for the State Party's competence and will to succeed in all the preservation tasks that may emerge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. St. Kitts and Nevis commends the State Party of Myanmar on the excellent submission of this impressive and important site of Bagan, and for overcoming great challenges in the conservation and preservation of the site, which deserves inscription on the World Heritage List as recommended by ICOMOS. We therefore support the draft amendment and congratulate the State Party of Myanmar. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We had 7 interventions from the committee members. I think that if we will do this way, it will be more correct. If there are no other opinions, if there are no objections to the file, let me ask honorable delegates to proceed to the approval of the draft decision. No objections? No insistence on the word? Thank you. May I ask Rapporteur about the alternative project?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have no proposed amendments.
Thank you very much. As it was noted by all in all interventions, the value of this site is great, and therefore there is no other opinions on the matter. So I declare decision 43-8B20 adopted as amended. We cordially congratulate the delegation of Myanmar for the first ever inscription in the World Heritage List, and gladly present the word to the delegation of Myanmar. Please, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a proud moment, not just for us, but for all of you to be part of this inscription process. As Honorable Chair has rightly said earlier at the Italian side event, particularly for us to witness Bagan being listed as a second war site in Myanmar. I wish to express on behalf of the government and people of Myanmar and on my own behalf my most profound appreciation and thanks to all distinguished members of the committee, Madam Rosler, Director of the War Heritage Center, and her whole team and advisory bodies for their valuable support for the successful inscription of Bagan in the War Heritage list at the current session. The honor of Bagan being inscribed in the War Heritage list owes to efforts and collaboration of many stakeholders, government officials as well as intellectuals, local and foreign experts, as well as development partners, private sectors, and volunteer groups, including Bagan in Our Heart, and local communities during the long journey of inscription process. Our wholehearted thanks goes to many countries, namely, among others, China, Colombia, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, and the Republic of Korea, Switzerland for their contributions to the comprehensive nomination of Bagan to a War Heritage Site. As portrayed by a poet named Captain C.M. Inrik in his poem Bagan in 1940, Bagan has always stood out as follows: motors of blacks, painters on the wall, spires of gold mounted on high cichers, risen to heavens, a crowd of many bells, the best in every style, Bagan excels. Bagan is a living heritage, having endured all forms of challenges for more than 1,000 years. Today, we are celebrating the joyous moment of the successful inscription of Bagan in the War Heritage list. Afterwards, we will continue our efforts on conservation and management of Bagan so that this treasure heritage will remain for another 1,000 years as a heritage of humanity or heritage for the posterity. Before I conclude, allow me to take this opportunity to warmly invite you, Mr. Chair, and everyone right here to visit Bagan, the heart of Myanmar, and to get mesmerized by its unique beauty and magnificence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We once more congratulate you, and I just want to say you that I have been there, and it is a great place. Thank you very much for invitation. Now we proceed to another item of our agenda. This is nomination number 8B.21, concerned with Seomon Korean Neo-Confucian Academies. Before giving the floor to ICOMOS to present the file, I would like to ask Mr. Balsamo to give some clarification.
Thank you, Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of this nomination, and is to be found on page 119 of the English version of the document in Fate before, and on page 112 of the French version of the same document. And this notification has also impacts on the proposed statement of OUV. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The ICOMOS evaluation can be found at page 180 of the English version and page 166 of the French version of document 43com Inf 8B1. This is a new nomination. A previous nomination was submitted in 2015 but was withdrawn before consideration by the World Heritage Committee. At the request of the State Party, an ICOMOS advisory process was conducted in 2016 and 2017. Based on the recommendations of the ICOMOS advisory report, the State Party has submitted a revised nomination dossier. This serial property comprises 9 sawan representing a type of Neo-Confucian educational academy of the Joseon dynasty, the dynasty occurring in the 15th to the 19th centuries. The components are located across the central and southern parts of South Korea. Located near mountains and water, as part of appreciating nature and cultivating the mind and body, their essential functions are learning, veneration, and interaction with the environment. While based on common architectural forms, the components have been creatively developed with individual characteristics to maximise links to the surrounding environment and understanding of Neo-Confucian ideals. The nominated property of private academies were established in the period from the mid-16th century through to the end of the 17th century. This period saw the creation of the first Sawan and their development with experiments in architectural layouts and techniques, through to a standardisation of architectural types featuring veneration, learning and interaction areas. The serial property reflects the creation and development of the Sawan. ICOMOS considers that the comparative analysis for the nominated property, augmented by the State Party, justifies consideration of this property for the World Heritage List. The property is nominated by the State Party on the basis of cultural criteria 3 and 4. ICOMOS considers that the nominated property meets criterion 3, but that it does not meet criterion 4, and that the requirements of integrity and authenticity have been met. With regard to criterion 3, the nominated property is exceptional testimony to cultural traditions associated with Neo-Confucianism in Korea, in the form of educational and social practices, many of which continue. It also exhibits outstanding testimony of the localisation of Neo-Confucian concepts. The Sawan illustrate an historical process in which Neo-Confucianism from China was tailored to Korean local conditions, resulting in academies which are exceptional testimony of this transformative and localising process. However, ICOMOS considers that the nominated property is not justified under criterion 4 as representing an outstanding example in a World Heritage context of a Neo-Confucian educational ensemble. ICOMOS notes the influence from China and the transformative and localising process, but does not consider the justification demonstrates the exceptional qualities required by this criterion. The location, topography and built elements largely define the overall composition of the nominated property. In many cases, this includes a sloping site for the Sawan. The careful layout, form and details of the buildings are all important attributes. Other built elements include wall fences, gates, paths, stairs and stelae. The Sawan have an important connection to the surrounding landscape, especially because of views from pavilions, and the landscape with trees and other plants is an attribute. The intangible attributes include the learning, veneration, interaction and other activities. Neo-Confucian values are still disseminated through classes and veneration ceremonies. The proposed boundaries and buffer zones are adequate. The links between the Sawan and distant landscape elements beyond the buffer zones are also important, and the protection of these links is also adequate. ICOMOS considers that the requirements for protection and management are generally adequate. Nonetheless, an overarching management document should be prepared for the whole property to supplement the management at the component level. In addition, integrated presentation of the 9 components as a single property should be better developed. While some presentation of the whole property is available at components, this should be enhanced. The property displays a good state of conservation and the monitoring approach is satisfactory. The main factors affecting the nominated property include fire, development pressures and insect damage. However, all factors are well understood and managed. ICOMOS therefore recommends the property for inscription in the World Heritage List on the grounds of criterion 3, and the draft decision, including additional recommendations, can be found at page 34 of the working document WHC 1943.com 8B. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ICOMOS. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank the Advisory Board ICOMOS for the great report, and I'm sure it's one of the few reports that deal with academic and science, so it was more positive for revising it. Also, I'd like to thank the State Party for the great dossier and their patience to withdraw it and submit it again and to come, for inscription. It's a unique nomination, unique serial inscription, because it's the source of the culture. It was started from this scientific places that spread throughout the Korean Peninsula. This is a lot of people see cultural site, cultural buildings, but we never know from where it started, how they kept all these records, where the people got the learning experience. This is the site. It's great to be kept, great to be listed in the World Heritage Center. Really, it's a great, I think, to me, nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie souhaite tout d'abord remercier ICOMOS pour le rapport qui nous a permis d'avoir une idée très précise sur ce site et félicite l'État partie pour la qualité de son dossier. Nous partageons l'avis de ceux qui pensent que ce site est important parce qu'il nous donne l'occasion de comprendre d'abord la structuration historique d'un processus à la fois lié à la transcendance, à la croyance, mais aussi à la création de la science. C'est pour ça qu'à nos yeux, il interpelle notre organisation non seulement par sa valeur culturelle, mais également parce qu'il constitue une pièce importante dans le cheminement et les balbutiements d'une académie qui mène vers les systèmes d'éducation moderne. Je crois qu'il faut saluer l'État partie de nous offrir l'occasion de souligner l'importance de ce site, et on se félicite aussi que sur le plan de l'encadrement et notamment du plan de conservation, les instances consultatives estiment qu'il y a lieu de ne pas s'inquiéter par rapport à ce site. Encore une fois, nos félicitations pour l'État partie.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. China fully supports the ICOMOS recommendation of inscription of the Suwon Korean New Confucian Academies on the World Heritage List, as well as the draft decision with the same text. We warmly congratulate our distinguished delegates from the Republic of Korea on their success of inscribing a new site onto the World Heritage List. Although Confucian Academies, Shuyuan in Chinese, began in China, the Korean Suwon is also an important venue that contribute to the dissemination and localization of Confucian culture in East Asia between the 16th and the 17th century, helping the Confucian idea blossom in Korea with the development of its own architectural design in good harmony with natural surroundings. China has already inscribed 2 Shuyuan as part of a larger properties on the World Heritage List. We hope that with the inscription of the Korean Suwon, Confucian heritage will be better represented on the World Heritage List, and that the new Korean World Heritage can serve as a catalyst for more cultural exchange between the countries in Asia, in the Asian region, and across the world. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Indonesia would like to thank first the advisory body for its excellent reports on Saigon Korean New Confucian Academies. Indonesia would also like to commend and congratulate the State Party on the inscription of Saigon as the World's Heritage. As a Syrian property comprised of 9 Saigon from the middle 16th to the middle 17th centuries, it exhibits unremarkable testaments to cultural tradition associated with New Confucianism in the form of educational and social practices in South Korea. Indonesia is confident that the State Party continues to manage the protection and conservation of this Saigon property. I thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Spain.
Sí, gracias, presidente. Nuestra delegación le gustaría sobre todo resaltar que nos encontramos ante otra candidatura que es un ejemplo de buena práctica. No hay que olvidar que es una candidatura que presentó el Estado, pero que decidió retirar de motu propio, porque quería mejorarla, y aquí están los resultados de un proceso que ha sido acompañado además por ICOMOS para mejorar esta candidatura y que pueda ir directamente a inscripción, como es el caso en que nos encontramos. Yo creo que este tipo de buenas prácticas las tenemos que resaltar frente a otras situaciones en las que nos encontramos que precisamente afectan a la credibilidad de la Convención. Bueno, pues este es precisamente un ejemplo que deberíamos de seguir todos los Estados. Dicho esto, también nuestra delegación está muy sorprendida por el excelente grado de conservación de este sitio y sobre todo porque no solo por los aspectos materiales, sino por el conocimiento, por los aspectos inmateriales que precisamente son el pilar fundamental de esta candidatura. Destacar también que además en este entorno normalmente las escuelas de este tipo se dedicaban a formar a funcionarios, y en este caso estamos ante una candidatura que realmente es el propio conocimiento lo que se está protegiendo. Así que bienvenida a esta candidatura y muchas felicidades a Corea por presentarla. Gracias.
Thank you, Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Azerbaijan also congratulates the State Party with this nomination. It is indeed an exceptional testimony to cultural traditions associated with the Neo-Confucianism in Korea in the form of educational and social practices. It is also an outstanding testimony to architectural prototype of Neo-Confucian academies and each stage of their development. We are thankful for the State Party for this nomination and for their work in cooperation with the ICOMOS to update the nomination and to successfully inscribe into the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I ask honorable members of the committee whether there are other opinions and proposals? I don't see any. Rapporteur, please inform us about the drafts.
We have no amendments for this decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Therefore, it's clear that we are now to approve the decision, and therefore I declare Decision 43-8B.21 adopted as amended. Thank you very much, and we cordially congratulate you on the occasion of the inscription, and I would like to give the floor to the State Party.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished committee members, I am the administrator of the Cultural Heritage Administration of the Republic of Korea. It is a great pleasure to see Sowon, Korean Neo-Confucian academies inscribed on the World Heritage List today. I would like to thank the entire committee for its recognition of Sowon as a World Heritage property that contributed to the regional dissemination of Neo-Confucianism, a governing ideology that prevailed during the Joseon dynasty. I also feel a tremendous responsibility for protecting the newly inscribed sites. In close collaboration with the local governments, the Cultural Heritage Administration will make a full preparation for the integrated conservation and management of the property. In fact, the nomination of Sowon was a challenge and an opportunity for the Republic of Korea. After being recommended to be deferred in the 2016 evaluation. We received ICOMOS advice in preparing the second nomination and finally succeeded in being listed today. It is my belief that through dialogues with the advisory body, the local experts could more clearly understand the crucial concept of World Heritage and the nomination process. Considering that there are still many state parties which are challenged by a number of obstacles in preparing their nomination of serial sites, I would like to say that the Republic of Korea is ready to share our experiences with you of any time you want. Once again, I would like to thank the committee members and the government of Azerbaijan, as well as the ICOMOS Secretariat and the local and international experts, all of whom were together with us during the whole nomination process. Thank you very much. Now I would like to hand over the floor to my dear Ambassador Byung-hyun Ri.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be very brief. I'd like to thank all committee members for supporting the inscription of SOWON, Korean Neo-Confucian Academies, on the World Heritage List. SOWONs were set up during the Joseon Dynasty and were recognized for establishing the teacher-student lineages of Neo-Confucianism in Korea, with their priority on social education and the memorial rights for sages. Educational traditions shaped through SOWON will comprise a significant part of social and cultural principles in Korean society. I'd also like to take this opportunity to emphasize that this inscription is the result of years of concerted efforts. Today, we have almost 100 of representatives who came from all the way from Korea, which attests to our enthusiasm for this inscription. Therefore, I'm very grateful to share this wonderful moment with them, as well as the Korean people who would be very happy by now to hear this wonderful news. 서원 등재를 축하합니다. 감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We once more congratulate Korean delegation for the inscription. And we now move to the discussion of the next matter. This is the presentation of the file 8B.22, the Grossglockner High Alpine Road from Austria. May I give the floor to Mr. Balsamo, please?
Thank you, Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination of the Grossglockner High Alpine Road, and is to be found on page 24 of the English version of document INF 8B4 and on page 29 of the French version. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ICOMOS, you are welcome to present the file.
Thank you, Chair. The ICOMOS evaluation can be found at page 191 of the English version and page 283 of the French version of document 43com Inf 8B1. The Grossglockner High Alpine Road in the southern Austrian federal provinces of Salzburg and Carinthia was designed to allow tourists to experience and enjoy the scenic qualities of the Hohe mountain landscape of the Eastern Alps, as well as the driving experience itself. The landscape includes the highest mountain in Austria, the Grossglockner. The road was designed and built between 1924 and 1936 under the supervision of civil engineer Franz Wallach, and demonstrates technological expertise in road construction, as well as the expansion and exploitation of tourism in a spectacular high mountain landscape. The 48-kilometre two-lane road has 36 hairpin bends. A feature of its design is a constant gradient of 9% on the main route and 12% on the access roads. In addition to the road itself, the associated features include curbstones, distance markers, crash barriers and other safeguards, embankments, stone retaining walls, parapets, bridges, buildings, toll gates, tunnels, telephone shelters, viewpoints and rest and parking areas. ICOMOS does not consider that the comparative analysis justifies consideration of this property for the World Heritage List at this stage. The context for the analysis is too narrow, being ultimately limited to scenic alpine roads. While a broad range of roads globally and in a range of environmental contexts are initially considered in the comparative analysis, all but scenic alpine roads are considered comparable to the Grossglockner Road. In other ways, the context is not sufficiently developed to support the claims of the proposed outstanding universal value. The broader theme that should be considered in a global thematic study is that of design scenic routes of this era in a global context and in a range of environmental contexts. The analysis also needs to be revised to present more compelling arguments about the outstanding qualities of the nominated property. The State Party has nominated the property on the basis of cultural criteria 1, 2 and 4. However, ICOMOS does not consider that any of the cultural criteria have been justified at this stage. There is also doubt about the creativity of the engineering design of the road itself under Criterion 1, and doubt about the influence of the road being sufficiently important under Criterion 2. ICOMOS considers that the requirements of integrity and authenticity have not been met at this stage. In particular, it is important to better understand the extent of changes that have been made to the road over time. This includes adaptations to accommodate increasing numbers of visitors, as well as to address changing standards for road safety. A notable change is the widening of the original road. While conservation measures are generally adequate, some detailed aspects should be improved, such as by adopting a conservation approach for the retaining walls and parapets, and preparing a conservation plan, including a detailed condition report with an associated maintenance schedule for each listed monument. The monitoring approach is considered to be satisfactory. The requirements for protection and management are adequate, but improvements should be made regarding documentation, including inventories and conservation plans, and enhancing staff conservation expertise. In addition, the management plan has an emphasis on the original design without also considering changes that have occurred and may occur in the future. The plan should recognise past and potential future changes in order to better ensure the conservation and management of the property. ICOMOS recommends that the nominated property should be deferred in order to allow the State Party to reconsider if a robust case can be made based on a global thematic framework. This framework should consider designed scenic routes in a global context and in a range of environmental contexts. This should underpin a thorough and compelling comparative analysis in order to bring into focus the potential significance of the nominated property. The evaluation of a revised nomination should also include a mission to visit the site. The draft decision can be found at page 36 of the working document WHC 1943.com 8B. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments on behalf of the members of the committee? Australia, please.
No.
Thank you, Chair. Australia considers that the nomination of the Grossglockner High Alpine Road represents an important new site type in the context of the Convention, and we appreciate greatly the depth of the research in the dossier and in the supplementary material, which was extensive. Australia does support, however, the recommendation for deferral made by ICOMOS, and in particular to allow the State Party to focus the potential of this property to meet Criterion 4 and is an important example of a scenic road. For that reason, Australia concurs with ICOMOS that a thematic study is necessary, and this would assist the state party, ICOMOS, the committee, and other state parties similarly considering nominations under the themes of scenic roads. Finally, we'd like to commend the state party for recognising the value in a deferral recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, for giving me the floor. This nomination is about something new, something that is missing on the World Heritage List. Norway supports the draft decision for a deferral. We do so also having in mind that here we see a state party that refrains from making efforts or a lot of buzz in order to oppose the draft decision. Norway would like to give honor to the state party for this constructive attitude. If also the state party, whenever proceeding, would cope with the recommendations to reconsider if a robust case can be made based on a global thematic framework of designed scenic routes in a global context, and accepting the offer of cooperation and advice of ICOMOS and the World Heritage Center in doing so, the state party of Austria would really contribute to implement practices in line with the spirit of the convention. With the decision of a deferral, the committee expresses its call for sobriety from all well-represented countries in the Western world in their approach to the listing of heritage of common human interest. That is why Norway puts our support for the draft decision. We also would like to hear some statement from the state party in this case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We definitely will make this. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. Motor vehicle is a whole new way of transportation of life, which is of great significance globally. The Glockner High Alpine Road in Austria is an outstanding example of a scenic highway that reflects an important moment in the history of motor vehicles. It is one of the most popular scenic highways in Europe, representing the lifestyle of a generation. China appreciates the excellent work of the state party in protection, management, and monitoring of the heritage, and hopes that the state party will follow the ICOMOS recommendation to revise the argument and the statement of the heritage of OUV and provide a better comparative analysis so that the heritage can be more widely recognized internationally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. En nuestro caso, que coincidimos con las valoraciones que se han hecho por los otros Estados miembros del comité, nos llama la atención, al ser un sitio tan particular, en el análisis que se fundamenta, se plantea que el sitio no cumple con el criterio 1. Y en tal caso me gustaría preguntar al órgano consultivo, teniendo en cuenta la particularidad de un sitio como este, si en esa evaluación se tuvo en cuenta a otras organizaciones especializadas en una temática tan particular. Gracias.
Thank you very much. I don't see any applies from the delegates. May we listen to the state party? Austria, please. You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. At the outset, allow me to commend our host Azerbaijan for her warm hospitality and excellent organization of this session. I would equally like to congratulate you, Mr. Chair, on your efficient and smooth stewardship of our deliberations. Now allow me a few words on our nomination recommended for referral, to be deferred, excuse me. As nominating state party, I will not hide our slight disappointment about this recommendation, as we are convinced of the manifold qualities of the property It is much more than a scenic road. Nevertheless, we accept that we were apparently not able to explain convincingly the overall character of the property, thereby not establishing satisfactorily the OOV of the site. Consequently, we welcome the opportunity to work on their recommendations of the advisory body by way of a thematic study. At this juncture, we shall thank ICOMOS for its advice during the nomination procedure and their very helpful recommendations. We thus look forward to continuing the fruitful dialogue with ICOMOS and hope that ICOMOS will be closely involved in the further process ahead, similar to the good experience we have made in the case of the Danube Limes. I shall thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We highly appreciate such kind of approach, and we count on the very serious work on this site and file together with the advisory bodies next year to provide inscription in future. So, as there is, may I ask the rapporteur any other additions?
We have no amendments proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, if there is no objections from the committee members, then I declare the decision. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there was one of the colleagues, he had a question to the advisory board, so we didn't hear from the advisory board. There was a question from Cuba.
Please, advisory board.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, the Honourable Delegate from Cuba, for that question. The short answer is yes, as part of the evaluation process, experts with specific expertise in the qualities of these sorts of roads were consulted through the evaluation process and provided their comments.
Thank you. Any other questions? So if no, then we proceed to the approval of the draft decision 43-8B.22 adopted as amended. Now we move to the file number 8B23. And I now invite the Secretariat to provide us with the information regarding the transnational nomination, Frontiers of the Roman Empire, the Danube Limes, Austria, Germany, Hungary, and Slovakia. Mr. Balsamo, please, you are welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Nomination of the Frontiers of the Roman Empire, the Danube Limes, presented by Austria, Germany, Hungary, and Slovakia, was recommended for inscription by ICOMOS in its evaluation. The Secretariat received 2 letters from Hungary, dated 18 April and 23 May 2019, addressed to the Director of the World Heritage Center. The letter dated 18 April informed the Center that Hungary, and I quote, wishes to withdraw of the component part 70A, Budapest 3, District Florian Square and surroundings, Agiohari Island and Bay, Aquincum Legionary Camp, Canabe Fortress, Governor's Palace. Namely, the Governor's Palace from the Frontiers of the Roman Empire, the Danube Limes, World Heritage Nomination Dossier submitted on 31st of January 2018. The letter dated 23 May, with reference to the Hungarian government's resolution 1288 of 2019, informed the Center that Hungary wishes to withdraw the Hajógyári Island and Bay, known also as the Óbuday Island of Budapest, as a component part from the nomination. The government decision number 1218 of 2019 attached to this letter provides that Óbuda Island in Budapest shall not form part of the site to be nominated for inscription on the World Heritage List. In this regard, I would like to recall that the operational guidelines foresee a time frame for the evaluation of nominations and provide that evaluations should not take into account or include any information submitted by the concerned state party after 28 February in the year in which the nomination is considered. The withdrawal of a component from the nomination of the frontiers of the Roman Empire, the Danube limes, entails a modification of the geographical boundaries of the property proposed for nomination and of the components that were evaluated by ICOMOS. In this respect, ICOMOS informed the Secretariat that its evaluation could not be considered as relevant anymore. Due to the withdrawal by Hungary of part of a component, the site for review by the committee differs from the site that was submitted for nomination by Austria, Germany, Hungary, and Slovakia, and which was evaluated by ICOMOS. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. As we have just heard, we are in a quite special situation regarding this nomination. For this reason, and with your permission, I would like to seek further clarification on this matter, and I would like to ask Hungary to tell us more in order to get a clear picture of this situation. Hungary, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Dear members of the committee, distinguished members of the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies. It is hard to say anything now in the name of Hungary about the present state of the Danube Limes International Serie nomination. The four state parties, Germany, Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary, have worked on it, taking note of the relevant rules and suggestions of the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS for many years with full energy and in close cooperation. In 2016, they prepared the thematic study for the full 6,500-kilometer long frontiers of the Roman Empire, which was adopted by the UNESCO World Heritage Committee at its 41st session in Krakow, and 1 year later, the Danube Limes Western Segment nomination for the 1,000-kilometer long limes along the Danube in the territory of their countries. The almost 2,500 pages long nomination dossier containing 175 components, 98 from them in Hungary, was submitted to the World Heritage Center by Hungary in the name of the four state parties at the end of January 2018. During that year, ICOMOS made the evaluation, and in this year, at the end of February, also a 500 pages long document detailing the additional information requested by the advisory body. As it emerges from the final evaluation, ICOMOS highly appreciated the nomination and proposed it to inscribe on the World Heritage List. However, in the meantime, a message was sent by the Hungarian government to UNESCO that one part of a component part in Aquincum, Budapest, should be taken out from the nomination. It is the right of each state party to take such decisions, but such requests may not be accepted in the time of the final evaluation after the end of February of the given year. As this withdrawal arrived late, the evaluation is, according to the expression of ICOMOS, not valid anymore. It follows that our common expectations to have this property being inscribed at the 43rd meeting session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee in Baku cannot be fulfilled, and let me express my personal regret for it towards our colleagues and partners. Of course, Hungary does not want to change its decision about the nomination of its Roman limes and its willingness to cooperate with the other three state parties on the nomination of the Danube limes. On the contrary, Hungary is committed towards this possible World Heritage nomination and its later extensions through the eastern segment of the Danube limes in the state parties Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania. We hope that our commitment will be accepted both by the international partners and by the UNESCO. Now, after having thorough discussions and dialogues, I believe that the other three states parties accept the decision of the Hungarian government, and they are ready to search a way out from this unexpected and sorrowful situation. It has been decided to find the best solution and to continue the common work and to submit the slightly revised nomination dossier to UNESCO for evaluation as soon as possible. I thank all of them in the name of Hungary for their consensus and for their friendly cooperation. If we have a success, the 10 years long hard work of hundreds of professionals in our countries has been not for vain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hungary. In light of what we have heard and because of the peculiarity of this situation, I would directly ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have received the amendments as flagged. These have been submitted by Australia, Tunisia, Kuwait, Norway, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Brazil, United Republic of Tanzania and Spain. The first paragraph would remain as it is. The second would now read, refers the frontiers of the Roman Empire, the Danube-Limes western segment, Austria, Germany, Hungary and Slovakia, back to the states parties in order to allow them to take appropriate measures with regard to component part 1608-133, WHC 1943.com 8b, page 60, previous component part 70A. And paragraph 3 would read, recommends the states parties to invite the advisory bodies, ICOMOS, to review the situation with an advisory mission to Hungary to take place before the end of 2019. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Since the amendment was proposed by Australia, I would pass the floor to the Australian delegation to give us some more explanations on the amendment proposed. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Australia begins by emphasising that the nomination this year has been recommended by ICOMOS for inscription. However, in recognition of the difficult situation facing the four states parties, and with their consent, Australia has proposed these amendments with our colleagues to the draft decision to refer the property back to the states parties to give them time to consider and resolve this difficult situation in consultation with ICOMOS. In drafting these amendments, which are co-sponsored by representatives from each of UNESCO's regional groups, we have also consulted with the four states parties and other committee members. We very much look forward to the states parties resolving the current situation and bringing this nomination back to the committee at their 44th session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that the amendment proposed is clear to everybody, and it has a good number of co-sponsors. But I understand that Norway wants the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As it's clear, Norway fully supports the amendment and efforts done by the state parties of Austria, Germany, Hungary and Slovakia to solve a delicate situation and willingly go for a referral. In addition, we are glad that they might be joined by the four countries, Croatia, Serbia, Romania and Bulgaria, who are prepared to put forward a new nomination on the Danube-Limes serial nomination. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. China.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China was initially a little surprised and confused why Australia and the other countries want to put forward an amendment to a originally recommended file recommended for inscription. But now we understand and we respect Hungary's decision. And therefore, for this reason, that China wishes to associate ourselves with the current amended text, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Tunisia?
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais, au nom de la Tunisie, aussi exprimer les conditions dans lesquelles nous sommes arrivés à présenter ce projet d'amendement. Et dans ce cadre-là, je tiens à souligner de manière de grande appréciation en tout état de cause de l'esprit de responsabilité de l'ensemble des États intéressés dans ce dossier qui était en tous les cas très proche d'une inscription. Je crois que leur esprit de coopération, leur attachement à l'esprit de la Convention et à une décision de consensus nous a menés à cette proposition. J'ai voulu, par cette intervention, saluer cet esprit-là et dire que nous nous en félicitons. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I believe that the amendment proposed is very clear, and I also understand that we have support to this decision, and I believe we can move directly to its approval. Well, no comments against, so it is approved. Thank you very much. I would now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination, Writing on Stone. I can't pronounce it, but...
Sorry. There is an observer who wants to speak. Is it Serbia or Slovakia?
I'm sorry, we cannot see you well from here, but you can take the floor. Serbia. Serbia, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Since this is the first time that my delegation is taking the floor, let me just use this opportunity to thank warmly Azerbaijan for excellent organization of this session and sincere hospitality expressed to all participants. Serbia fully supports successful outcome of the Frontiers of the Roman Empire, the Danube Limes nomination, having in mind that we are involved, as it was mentioned, together with 3 other state parties in the preparation of the future extension of this property. We strongly believe that vision of the frontiers of the Roman Empire becoming the largest World Heritage Site deserves our full support and attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments on the item? If not, we move to the next one. Thank you very much. And I now invite ICOMOS to present a nomination, Writing on Stone, and Sinaipi, excuse me if the pronunciation is not good, from Canada. But before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, we have comments to present. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination Writing on Stone. I will give it a try, ASNAP. And this notification has impacts on the proposed statement of OUV and is to be found on page 48 of the English version of document infed before and on page 53 of the French version of the same document. Thank you.
Thank you. ICOMOS, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The ICOMOS evaluation report for Writing on Stone, ICE&IP Canada, can be found in document INF 8B1 on page 225 of the English version and page 302 of the French version. This is a sacred landscape featuring thousands of engravings and paintings on the sandstone walls of the river valley, bearing testimony to the sacred beings and beliefs of the Blackfoot people of North America. Centuries-old traditions and ceremonies continue within this landscape. The property is located in the province of Alberta, in the north of the semi-arid Great Plains of North America. There are 3 components located along the Milk River, part of the Missouri River drainage system. The main component is ice and IP, and 2 others are located approximately 10 kilometres away. The property is located in a region of mixed prairie grasslands near the northern edge of the Great Plains. Grasslands formed an integral part of the Blackfoot seasonal round and traditional way of life. The area's geology features numerous sandstone columns called hoodoos with spectacular forms sculpted by erosion. For the Blackfoot, the region is inhabited by powerful spirits which have left engravings and paintings on the sandstone sides of the river valley. There is a tradition of vision questing, and people return to these sites to seek spiritual guidance. There are many continuing cultural practices, including the transmission of traditional knowledge, gathering of plants and ochres, ceremonies, dances and rituals, and the making of rock art images. There are 138 rock art localities with thousands of engravings. Most of the dated archaeological sites date from about 4,500 years before present up to the contact period. The oldest rock art possibly dates from 3,000 years before present, and many images date from 1,000 years before present to the 19th century. Some of the rock art portrays historical scenes of warfare. Other engravings depict ceremonies and Blackfoot material culture. The main factors affecting the property are development in areas surrounding it, including the future potential for oil and gas exploration or wind energy installations. Future and existing upstream dams and irrigation diversions have the potential to affect stream flows. There is a rodeo ground within the restricted access zone. There were exchanges during the evaluation process about the possibilities for it to be relocated, and ICOMOS recommends that this should occur as soon as practicable. The archaeological sites bear witness to the past lifestyles of traditional hunter-gatherer peoples living in the Great Plains and cover several millennia. Characteristic artifacts such as stone projectile points have been found. Bison jumps and bison kill sites at the foot of cliffs bear witness to past hunting traditions. The comparative analysis is sound. Although the State Party has proposed the nomination on the basis of criteria 1, 3, 4, and 6, ICOMOS finds that criterion 3 is the most appropriate to represent both the long history, rock art traditions, and continuing cultural associations of this landscape. The authenticity of the nominated areas is established. The integrity is generally satisfactory, although ICOMOS considers that there should be a time frame for the relocation of the rodeo grounds to strengthen integrity. The boundaries and buffer zones are appropriate. The State Party has identified culturally important viewsheds, and those occurring within the property and its buffer zones are protected by provincial laws. Legal protection is provided at the provincial and national levels. The management system is sound, and Blackfoot communities are involved in the management of the park and consulted about decisions. An updated management plan has been developed, and the Government of Alberta has adopted it as an interim management directive. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that writing on stone, ice and IP, Canada, be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criterion 3, and has included several further recommendations in the draft decision. A draft statement of outstanding universal value has also been provided. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, ICOMOS, very much. I would like to know if there are any comments concerning this nomination. Spain, please.
De nuevo estamos ante una candidatura excepcional y además un ejemplo también de presentación de una candidatura que viene a llenar un vacío en la lista, por un lado porque hay muy pocos sitios vinculados, en los que esté vinculado el paisaje a los lugares sagrados, y luego por otro lado porque estamos ante el primer sitio que se declara de arte rupestre de los grupos nativos de las grandes llanuras de América del Norte, teniendo en cuenta además la gran concentración de arte rupestre que existe en este lugar, como hemos podido ver por las fotos que son muy significativas. Además, se ha trabajado completamente, y eso se ve en el propio expediente, con la propia comunidad, en el sistema de gestión, lo que va a garantizar su perdurabilidad. Y, por otro lado, el grado de conservación, debido además a los riesgos a los que está expuesto, la verdad que es llamativo el grado de conservación que tienen. Así que, de nuevo, felicitar a Canadá por la presentación del sitio en sí, por la categoría que presenta y por la excepcionalidad en cómo lo ha presentado en congruencia con la propia comunidad. Gracias, Canadá, y yo creo que nos tenemos que felicitar todo el comité también ahora con esta candidatura.
Thank you so much. Uganda.
Mr. Chairman, since 2004, from the time the heritage site of Nsnapi came into Canada's tentative list, my delegation is satisfied beyond any doubt that this property has come of age for inscription on the World Heritage List. Mr. Chairman, being the largest concentration of rock art sites in the Canadian prairies, amalgamating a host of 96 separate sites spanning over 2,000 years of history, the Nsnapi is omnipotent to the tradition Nitisipi hinterlands, whose socio-cultural, spiritually, and economic livelihoods have been sustained by this heritage property through past centuries and even today. With the Nitisipi and globally, it is within the Nitisipi and globally, it is a masterpiece of corporate, spiritual, and artistic excellence, for which my delegation also adds its voice for this 43rd session of the committee to inscribe it on the World Heritage List. I thank you.
Thank you. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Australia would like to pay our respects to the Siksikapi people, the Blackfoot people, and their elders past, present, and future. We congratulate them and the Canadian government on the recommendation for inscription of writing on stone Asanape. This sacred, continuing cultural landscape makes an important contribution to redressing the underrepresentation of places of Indigenous values on the World Heritage List. Canada must be complimented on the clear and comprehensive dossier and the approach taken to develop the nomination in partnership with the Blackfoot people. We take this opportunity to highlight the richness of Indigenous cultures and the importance of free, prior and informed consent, and in respecting Indigenous voices and self-determination in the nomination process. It was a pleasure and a privilege to learn of the deep spiritual connection of the Blackfoot people to their ancestral lands and their communication with the spirit beings who inhabit the valley. This relationship is literally written on stone through the landscape and in thousands of extraordinary petroglyphs and pictographs, and they're maintained through their continuing cultural associations of the Blackfoot people in this landscape. Again, we congratulate the Blackfoot people and Canada in the proposed inscription of this sacred landscape. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie voudrait remercier tout d'abord ICOMOS pour l'excellent rapport qui nous a permis de prendre vraiment connaissance détaillée de ces très beaux dossiers. Également, je voudrais appuyer et remercier l'État partie de nous avoir fourni un très bel exemple d'adaptation de l'homme à des conditions naturelles difficiles, mais dans ces conditions de contrainte, on peut créer aussi du génie humain, et le génie humain découle aussi de la contrainte, et c'est un exemple extraordinaire qui nous ramène en fait des millénaires avant notre ère. Donc la Tunisie se félicite que le comité s'achemine vers une décision d'inscription, mais souligne et attache beaucoup d'importance à la recommandation d'ICOMOS quant à la relocalisation des installations de rodéo. Merci beaucoup et félicitations encore pour l'État partie.
Merci beaucoup. China.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China congratulates the State Party for including this writing on stone ICNAPI for the inclusion onto the World Heritage List, and thanks the Blackfoot people nation for their contribution to the world of such a precious spiritual heritage. The heritage is a symbol of the spiritual culture and the living condition of the local people. It has been well preserved under the careful protection by generations of Blackfoot people. The long and the deep connection between Blackfoot people and the heritage also constitutes a part of the heritage value. It is hoped that the nation that attaches great importance to the spiritual strength and its unique heritage value can be better protected and spread, giving spiritual strength to more people in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Given the unanimous support to this draft decision, I would just confirm with our rapporteur that we haven't received any amendments to this decision and proposal, but
no proposed amendments.
No
that's
proposals.
correct.
Well, I think then we can just move to adopt draft decision 43, 8B.25, which I declare approved. Let me congratulate Canada on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. Canada, you have the floor for a brief 2-minute statement. Thank you.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. C'est avec un immense plaisir que le Canada partage ce moment mémorable qui consiste en l'inscription de Writing on Stone à CINEP sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. This significant achievement follows more than 10 years of dedication by the provincial government of Alberta and the Blackfoot Confederacy, including the Mokakin Cultural and Heritage Society, with guidance and advice from Parks Canada. We wish to thank ICOMOS, the World Heritage Center, and the World Heritage Committee for their consideration of this nomination. I had the honor of visiting Writing on Stone at Sinapi for the first time in 2018 during the evaluation mission, and I can attest to the immense beauty and power of this sacred place and the passion of the Blackfoot people in protecting and sharing their heritage with the world. The inscription of Writing on Stone at Sinep on the World Heritage List is very timely during the International Year of Indigenous Languages in recognition of the cultural and linguistic rights of the Blackfoot people. I now would like to turn the microphone to Councillor Martin Heavyhead, a Blackfoot elder and member of the Kainai Blood Tribe, who is speaking on behalf of the Blackfoot Confederacy in Alberta Parks, who manage the site cooperatively.
My name is Martin Heavyhead, and I'm an elder with the Mokakin Foundation. I'm an elected councillor of the Kaina. I'm here in partnership with the governments of Canada and Alberta. We, the Blackfoot Confederacy elders, are very proud to have been partners in the success of the Writing on Stone SNAP nomination as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Our advice and insight were always sought for every submission and every step of the nomination. For the Blackfoot people, Writing on Stone SNAP is the very heart of our ancestral land. We believe that SNAP has a powerful role to play in teaching others around the world about the sacred landscape of our people. The inscription of writing on stone Esnape as UNESCO World Heritage Site provides the Blackfoot Confederacy with the certainty that future generations will have an opportunity to continue our traditions, ceremonies, and cultural practices. As a World Heritage Site, writing on stone Esnape will be an inspiration to all who seek to understand their own deep and personal connections to the land. I want to thank Aaron Domes, the Alberta government workers, and also previous elders that worked on this project: Adam Delaney, Pete Standing Alone, Frank Weaselhead, Alan Pard, Narcissus Blood. Thank you very much. Tsikshini dak.
Thank you, Canada. Congratulations and good celebrations while we move ahead in the room. And I would now invite ICOMOS to present the transnational nomination Esgebirge Gnusnahori, and apologize for the pronunciation, mining region, Czech and Germany. But first, I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a fatal error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination of Erzgebirge Krishnohorji mining region. And this notification is on page 60 of the English version of document INFAID before, and on page 123 of the French version. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. The ICOMOS evaluation of Erzgebirge Krishnohori mining region in Czechia and Germany can be found in document in 8B1 on page 237 in the English version and 238 of the French version. A related nomination was submitted in 2014, but was withdrawn by the states parties following the receipt of the ICOMOS interim report. This transnational serial nomination concerns the histories of a region rich in a variety of metals, which gave place to mining practices from the Middle Ages onwards. The Ore Mountains covers a mining region in Saxony in southeastern Germany and northwestern Czechia. The area is approximately 95 kilometers long and 45 kilometers wide. The nominated property is presented as a cultural landscape of 22 components, 17 located in Germany and 5 in Czechia. The 22 components relate to each of the types of ores extracted throughout the region's histories. Each of the components of the serial nomination includes a variety of sites, groups of buildings, monuments, and structures, each differing in scale, type, function, and role in depicting the centuries-long mining tradition of the Ore Mountains. The components contain the former mines, shafts, water management systems, and other structures. Mining towns form part of the nomination, together with water management systems, training academies, and factories. The towns developed from monasteries that were instrumental in initiating mining activities. Silver was extracted during periods spanning from 1168 to 1968 and was the starting point for ore extraction in several key locations. Many new towns were founded based on silver mining, and a number of these developed into cultural centers. Silver coins were minted in the town of Jacquemont. Silver mining declined in the second half of the 16th century. After silver, tin was an important and early source. Later, many other ores were mined: cobalt, iron, and uranium. Scientific research and education for mining overseers allowed a resurgence of mining in the 18th century based on industrialization. There are specific historical and social practices associated with mining in this region that form part of the justification presented by the two states parties. The nominated landscape has been shaped by mining since the Middle Ages, with a rich and diverse legacy that traverses a number of categories of cultural heritage. This is a very complex nomination, but has been very well coordinated by the two states parties to present a coherent whole. The comparative analysis has demonstrated the distinctiveness of this mining landscape and has also justified the selection of the 22 components. The nominated serial property demonstrates criteria 2, 3, and 4, based on the technological innovation of mining, the establishment of social structures for mining from the 12th century, and the ability to present a coherent mining landscape based on diverse ore deposits and supported by settlements, forests, and water management. The integrity of the cultural landscape has been demonstrated, and the inclusion of each of the nominated components has been justified. While the span of 800 years of mining activity has witnessed many changes, the requirements for authenticity have been met, especially for the underground elements. A large number and variety of attributes has been identified across the serial property. No issues have been identified regarding the boundaries and buffer zones. Many components exhibit a good state of conservation, although some are undergoing substantial restoration and others are in a state of decay. The two states parties have committed substantial resources to the conservation program. The main factors affecting the nominated property are development projects, uncontrolled revegetation of mining areas, flooding, pollution, and potential tourism impacts. The legal protection and management systems are in place and well coordinated between the two states parties. In conclusion, ICOMOS recommends that Erzgebirge Krušnohoří mining region, Czechia and Germany, be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 2, 3, and 4, and has included several further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. A draft statement of outstanding universal value has also been provided. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments? Any comments concerning this nomination? Yes, Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. This co-shared transboundary heritage site between the Czech Republic and Germany denotes a historically grand metallurgical extraction landscape of several mineral ores. Throughout the world, there is no landscape that depicts a complex layering of evolution of metallurgical industrialization as this mining region from as early as the 12th century. The region remains a host to fascinating pits, heaps, watering channels, and reservoirs, mining towns and settlements, and other important social-cultural architecture, uniquely evolved by the region's mining towns and settlements. In summary, Chairperson, the property, which is a mining region on its own, is an unparalleled masterpiece of human creativity and technological excellence in metallurgical exploitation and all its associated ensembles. For this reason, Madam Chairperson, my delegation is happy to have it inscribed on the World Heritage List. I submit, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Any more comments? I see none. And as we move to the adoption of this draft decision, 43.8b.26, I would ask our rapporteur if there are any amendments to it. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've not received any amendments for this draft decision. Thank you.
No amendments and no further comments, so we can declare this decision adopted. Thank you very much. But please let me congratulate Czechia and Germany on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. Czechia and Germany, you have the floor for 2 minutes to make your statements. Thank you.
Mrs. Chairperson, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of the German delegation, I would like, first of all, to say thank you very much, Choch Sarol, to our host country, Azerbaijan, for its hospitality and the fantastic organization of this committee meeting. I would then like to express our sincere thanks and appreciation to ICOMOS for the positive evaluation and to the World Heritage Committee for this inscription. I would then like to invite His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the German Federal State of Saxony, Michael Kretschmer, to take the floor.
Madam Chair, Madam members of the World Heritage Committee, on behalf of the Free State of Saxony, and especially on behalf of the citizens of the Ural Mountains Krishna-Hori region, I would like to thank you for the inscription into the UNESCO World Heritage List. It fills us with gratitude, and it is a great honor for us. The inscription recognizes the achievement of the people who have created and shaped the region over the centuries. It is now our obligation to make sure that the region's history and places will be preserved as our common cultural heritage for centuries to come. We will do our utmost to protect and preserve this new World Heritage Site that should inspire future generations. I would also like to thank the team of ICOMOS for their professional evaluation of the mining region. This is our contribution to a peaceful and prospering cooperation at the heart of Europe. For me, this is a wonderful example that we can learn from your history and shape our future together. I would like now to pass the floor to the Czech Republic. Glück auf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me please introduce Ms. Molíková, Deputy Minister of Culture of the Czech Republic.
Dear colleagues, on behalf of the Czech Republic, we would like to join our German partners and friends and express our sincere gratitude to the World Heritage Committee members for the inscription of our transitional serial nomination. We are honored to receive the distinction of the World Heritage Property for the Erzgebirge Krušnohoří mining region. From the beginning of the preparation of this challenging joint project, we have appreciated the mutual cooperation between Saxon and Czech partners and the collegial spirit of partnership for which we are very grateful. This bilateral project is a natural continuation of the centuries-old tradition of people living together in this mining region on both sides of the Ural Mountains. Local communities, mining towns and regions, host representatives came to Baku to hear the World Heritage Committee decision, are proud that the outstanding universal value of the sites has been confirmed. Therefore, we are aware of the importance of the sustainable preservation and presentation of this cultural heritage for the future generations. We are ready to continue our efforts to ensure that our common world heritage property is conscientiously managed in the spirit of the Convention. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination Landscape for Breeding and Training of Ceremonial Carriage Horses at Kladruby nad Labem, Czechia. But first I give the floor to the Secretariat. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of this nomination, which is to be found on page 63 of document in Fate Before and on page 119 of the same document in its French version. Thank you, Madam.
ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The ICOMOS evaluation of this property is found at page 250 of document inf.8b1 in its English version and at page 398 of the French version. The landscape for breeding and training of ceremonial carriage horses at Kladruby nad Labem features a flat landscape with sandy soils and include fields, meadows, fenced pastures and landscape park, a forested area and farmsteads, all designed with the main objective of breeding and training horses. The nominated property is located in the Elbe lowland in the Stredny Polabi area. The nomination of Kladruby nad Labem has to be commended as it puts the focus on the role played by horses in the human history and development, an aspect of human culture which has not been paid yet sufficient attention within the World Heritage Convention. Kladruby nad Labem had been part of the Habsburg Imperial Court stud farms since the late 16th century, and over the centuries it has been consistently expanded, adapted and embellished to support the breeding and training of the Kladruby horses, a special type of draft horses used in formal ceremonies. The property has been nominated under criterion 2, 4 and 5 as a rare synthesis of an evolving and of a designed landscape created for horse breeding and training, as a testimony of the application of Lenotre principles and landscape design combined with later picturesque design rules, and as a unique example of an equestrian cultural development in Europe. The State Party has harnessed the opportunities offered by the evaluation process and has provided a wealth of additional information and arguments to illustrate the relationship between the design of the landscape and its functions. State Party has substantially improved the comparative analysis, thus correctly and convincingly positioned the nominated property amongst its comparators, demonstrating that Kladruby nad Labem is one of the few ancient stud farms that still pursues its historic breeding program, has retained its landscape almost intact, continuing to serve its function, and still reflects the purposes for which it was designed. The nomination dossier, the additional information, and the revised comparative analysis have clarified that the property justified consideration for the World Heritage list under criterion 4 and 5. On the other hand, the justification for criterion 2 has not been supported by the surviving feature of the property. The boundaries of the nominated property are adequate. On the other hand, the southern boundaries of the buffer zone appear in some stretches too tight to ensure an adequate protection to the nominated property. The conservation of the property is overall adequate, although the impacts of several ongoing large-scale conservation rehabilitation projects need to be assessed. Factors affecting the properties include potential windstorms, flooding, and pollution. Sudden increase of tourism can also be of concern. The protection and management systems rely upon several instruments of a legal, regulatory, and planning nature. that appear to collaborate to guarantee an effective layer of protection to the nominated property and the buffer zone. However, ICOMOS has found that Kladrubski Nahon should be covered by an ad hoc designation as historical cultural heritage item, considering its primary role in the sustenance of the nominated property. The integrity requirements, according to ICOMOS evaluation, will be met when the boundaries of the buffer zone will be expanded to the south to include further land across the River Elbe and equipped with protective mechanisms, especially from visual impacts. The authenticity requirements have been met. However, ICOMOS has found that a more cautious approach in conservation would be advisable. The management system seems adequate, but needs to enjoy stability. The management plan is being updated and should be submitted as soon as ready for review. The management would benefit also from an integration of a heritage impact assessment approach into its processes. In conclusion, ICOMOS recommends that the landscape for breeding and training of ceremonial carriage horses at Kladrubi and Laden be referred back to the state party in order to expand the buffer zone and to provide ad hoc legislation for the canal system. ICOMOS also provided a further recommendation for the consideration of the state party concerning management plan, visitor strategy, risk management, and interpretation of the sites. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments to this draft decision? Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Australia thanks the State Party for presenting such an interesting nomination, and we commend them for their responsiveness to the advice of ICOMOS during the evaluation process. As ICOMOS has noted both in its report just then and previously, the nomination of the property highlights the role of horses that they've played in human history, and that this has not previously been considered to any great extent in the World Heritage list. This was also apparent to us in reading the dossier, and we hope that this theme may be further elaborated in future nominations, but not just for horses, for more broadly in relation to properties that evidence the many ways in which animals have enriched and supported and been supported by human societies. ICOMOS has found that the property has the potential to demonstrate OUV under criterion 4 and 5. ICOMOS has recommended referral for the property to give the state party time to implement 2 key recommendations related to enhancing legal protection and expansion of the buffer. Madam Chair, since the deadline for ICOMOS receiving further information, the state party has made significant progress in implementing these recommendations, in particular the expansion of the buffer to the south of the property and in providing ad hoc legal protection to the canal system associated with the property through a decision now formally adopted under Czech national law, and an initial draft of the new updated management plan has already been presented to the steering group established to coordinate management of the property. Australia has received detailed information from the state party in relation to their progress in addressing each recommendation in the draft decision, and on this basis Australia has been pleased to propose amendments to the draft decision to recommend the property be inscribed rather than referred. We would, however, like the committee members to also have a chance to hear the details of this progress from the state party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more comments? Kyrgyzstan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also agree with Australia and would like to hear from the state party, firstly, their opinion on deleting criteria 2 from the decision, and also details on the developments at the site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would now pass the floor to the state party for the clarifications demanded by Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to give us the opportunity to comment on the recommendations contained in the draft decision. I would like to inform the members of the committee that the relevant authorities of the Czech Republic have already started to fulfill all recommendations as formulated in the ICOMOS evaluation report and the draft decision of the committee. We are already preparing the extension of the buffer zone of the property to the south by appropriate legal instruments and in cooperation with the local authorities. We are ready to apply all measures in order to guarantee better protection of the whole area. The amended buffer zone shall be declared by the end of this year at the latest. Concerning Kladrubský náhon, the water canal, the relevant authorities are well aware how important the water canal is for this cultural landscape. Therefore, the Ministry of Culture of the Czech Republic started with appropriate steps to guarantee better legal protection immediately after the ICOMOS evaluation mission. Currently, the whole legal process is being finalized, and the water canal Kladrubský náhon is already declared culture monument according to current National Monuments Act by decision of Ministry of Culture number 47087 from June 2019. I can guarantee that this recommendation is already fulfilled. At the same time, the revision and updating of the management plan has started. The first updated draft is ready, and the final version will be available by the end of January 2020. The tourist management strategy for the nominated property is also currently underway in parallel with drafting the new management plan. The steering group for the nomination has also started to work on all other additional recommendations of ICOMOS. We strongly believe that we can succeed in sustainable preservation, management, and presentation of the site. Concerning the criteria number 2, we follow ICOMOS recommendations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If there are no more, are there any more comments? No, I don't see any. Yes, ICOMOS, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We welcome the additional information that have been provided today by the state party. Perhaps it would be good to consider that formal reporting about the progress made by maybe the end of the year or next year about this legal provision being definitely approved and enforced might be to be considered by the committee as an additional recommendation if the committee intends to progress with the amendment provided by Australia.
Thank you, ICOMOS. Spain.
Sí, efectivamente íbamos a pedir que interviniera ICOMOS porque, claro, si el Estado a lo largo del proceso de evaluación ha mandado prácticamente toda la documentación que se le iba pidiendo y eso ha sido confirmado por ICOMOS, en este caso no es que el Estado se comprometa a realizar esas acciones y estemos inscribiendo un sitio bajo determinadas condiciones, como ha ocurrido en otros casos. No, en este caso estamos ante un caso en el que el Estado, durante el proceso de evaluación, ha ido aportando ya la documentación. Entonces, quizá lo que tendría que variar ahora es el proyecto de decisión, porque ya las cuestiones han sido solventadas, si es que ICOMOS nos confirma eso. Gracias, presidenta.
Muchísimas gracias. Un buen ejemplo de comunicación y de cooperación. Fantástico. Australia, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, we'd just like to say that we would welcome the addition of a further paragraph at the end of our amendments on a reporting back. Thank you.
Thank you. I was expecting this. Thank you very much. Any more comments? If not, I pass the floor to the rapporteur so that she can project the text and the Australian delegation can include the addition.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As proposed by the delegation of Australia, it's proposed to inscribe this property. The first paragraph remains unchanged. The second would read, inscribes the landscape for breeding and training of ceremonial carriage horses at Kladruby nad Labem, Czechia, on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 4 and 5. Paragraph 3 then would read, takes note of the provisional statement of outstanding universal value, which follows. That's in relation, of course, to criteria 4 and 5 only. New paragraph 4, which actually reflects formal work anyway, requests that the state party, working with the steering group established to coordinate management of the property, finalised by December 2020 the expansion of the buffer zone to the south by including further land across the River Elbe in the stretch where the boundaries are too tight or coinciding with those of the property, in order to guarantee that it's equipped in its entirety with the necessary layer of additional protection. Paragraph 5 and all those points remain unamended. I would just note that in the amendment received by the committee members, there was just property H, point H disappeared in that, but that was not the intention, so we have reinserted H. And then there's now a proposal, I believe, for a new paragraph, which would be for the state party to report back to the advisory bodies and the committee. I'm not sure if Australia would like to propose some words or our secretariat will whip something up.
Thank you. Are we in agreement with the proposal presented? Australia, you have the floor.
We are in agreement. If we could just use some standard text. Unfortunately, I don't have any standard text in front of me right now, but to report back to the World Heritage Centre and ICOMOS on the progress or to the centre and for the progress to be reviewed by the World Heritage Committee at their next session. Something standard text.
And
would you like to formulate? Yeah, okay.
Madam Chair, we have some standard words. I think it's really just to work out which year the report back is needed. Is it for the next session?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that paragraph, the usual practice is when we request something at this late stage, it's required by 1 February. So it would read, requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 February 2020 a report on the implementation of the above-mentioned recommendations for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 44th session. And well done to the typists there. Thank you.
Australia, are you in agreement with the text? Yes? Yes, you have the floor, Mr. Balsamo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we have heard from the state party that the boundaries of the buffer zone are being extended, I think we should also include a request to the state party to submit the revised map accordingly, showing the extended buffer zone. So maybe I don't know if we add a new paragraph or we do it in the same, but actually it would be better a new paragraph because the deadline to submit the new map, I think it will be rather 1st of December 2019.
Could you please formulate the paragraph, please?
Well, it's like basically the one that we have in front of us, except that request the state party to submit to the World Heritage Center by 1 December 2019 a revised map showing the extended buffer zone.
It has just been pointed out to me that in paragraph 4, I think we've requested something already by 2020, December 2020, and whether it might make more sense to move the reporting back on both items to the 45th session, or whether you would still like to have those two different dates and two sets of reporting.
Australia, you have the floor. Thank you.
We're happy to move it back then, Madam Chair, if the rest of the committee is agreeable to that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat, because we couldn't hear you well. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, we are happy for the reporting date to be moved back by 12 months so that it aligns with the date appearing earlier in the draft, in the amendments.
I think, Madam Chair, we are comfortable that we've got our decision consistent now, so I'll just read the very last two paragraphs just to make sure we are all comfortable with this. Paragraph 6 would read, requests the State Party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 December 2020 a report on the implementation of the above-mentioned recommendations for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 45th session in 2021. And I actually think we'll probably move paragraphs 6 and 7 around, but we will also have requests the State Party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 December 2019 a revised map showing the extended buffer zone. So if we could just move the positioning of paragraph 7 to make it 6, so that the very last thing is the report back. I think we're comfortable that that's consistent.
Australia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to visually check the consistency. Could we please scroll back up to the other date in the, so that is a date which talks specifically about the buffer and by December 2020. So is that consistent with what's been included below? Could we now scroll back down? So this request here should be 2020 also.
I understand. I will pass the floor to the Secretariat.
I think that we assume that the buffer zone, we heard from the floor that the buffer zone are being extended, and as for any other property that is considered and inscribed on the World Heritage List, we need boundaries. So we will need a map as soon as possible, and I think that the date of 1st of December 2019 is the closest that we can put.
Yes, Australia, please go ahead.
Well, if we could, so the operative paragraph at paragraph 4 was related to a time frame where we were requesting the State Party, working with the steering group established to coordinate management of the property, finalise by December 2020 the expansion of the buffer zone. So perhaps we could ask the State Party to confirm whether it's in the position to provide the clarification of the buffer zone by the 1st of December 2019. And if that's the case, then we can make that the operative date in the two clauses.
Thank you, Australia. I think it's better at this point that we listen to Czechia on this topic. You have the floor. Thank you.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La République tchèque est prête à élargir la zone de protection de ce site d'ici la fin de l'année 2019. Donc, nous pouvons tout à fait soumettre une carte avec les nouvelles frontières du bien d'ici décembre 2019. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Australia. Okay, thank you. ICOMOS. Okay, thank you. Well, are there any comments and more comments? I think we don't have any more comments, and we can move then to the adoption of draft decision 43,8b.27, which I declare at this point adopted. And before, I would like to tell you that with this inscription, we have reached the number of 1,111 sites on the World Heritage List. Let me, on behalf of all the members of this committee, congratulate Czechia for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. Czechia, you have the floor for a 2-minute statement. Thank you very much.
Dear Madam Chair, members of the World Heritage Committee, dear colleagues, on behalf of the Czech Republic, I would like to express our sincere gratitude for the trust you have placed in us by this decision. We are very honored by your choice to inscribe the landscape for breeding and training of ceremonial carriages, horses at Kladruby nad Labem into the World Heritage List, as we feel that this property can significantly broaden the notion of the World Heritage. And we thank sincerely all of you who have supported this nomination. I'm sure that you just made the national stud of Kladruby nad Labem the happiest place on earth, even at the moment. It's a great honor for the Czech Republic, regional authorities, many experts, and all local partners involved in the project. We commit ourselves to follow all recommendations of the committee and of ICOMOS, and we will inform the World Heritage Center of all future progress in this regard as soon as the steering group submits all additional materials. We will do our utmost to protect and preserve this property. Madam Chair, dear members of committee, it's my pleasure to invite all lovers of the landscape and horses to visit this new World Heritage Site. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Congratulations. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination Water Management System of Augsburg, Germany. But first, I give the floor to the Secretariat. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning this nomination, and is to be found on page 67 of the English version of document infate before, and on page 21 of the same document in French. Thank you.
ICOMOS.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The evaluation of ICOMOS of this property can be found at page 262 of the English version and page 253 of the French version of the ICOMOS evaluation volume. The water management system of Augsburg is a sustainable system to manage water resources evolved in successive phases through the city's application of innovative hydraulic engineering, demonstrating an exemplary use of water resources over the course of more than 7 centuries to the present day. The geomorphological features of the region where Augsburg is located enjoys abundance of water resources which have been managed since early times. The water management system of Augsburg is comprised of 22 elements, 1 canal complex and 1 watercourse system, 4 drinking water structures, 2 water engineering structures, 3 monumental fountains, and 1 water-cooled hall, as well as 10 hydraulic power stations. Some water canals were mentioned in documents as early as 1276, when water was channelized and brought to the city to supply mills, tanneries, textile producers, and goldsmiths. At least by 1545, a strict separation between drinking and processed waters was achieved throughout the system of watercourses. The network of canals was enriched until 19th century and renovated in the 20th century. Drinking water works were in use from 15th until 19th century. They included pumping machine, initially driven by water wheels and later by turbines, in order to lift water in expansion basins on top of towers, from which water could flow by gravity through wooden pipes. Water engineering structures comprise the Hochblasweiher with its original machinery and the ancient Galgenblas culvert documented since 1545 onwards. The water-cooled hall, built in 17th century, is a rare example of a large food processing structure known as Stadtmetz, in use from 1601 to 1930. The hydraulic power stations include some of the first examples of these facilities from 19th century that used hydropower to generate energy. 10 power plants represent this typology and are still in use. 3 of them are evidence of continued development of hydroelectricity in Augsburg. The property has been nominated under criterion 2, 4, and 6 for the early system for separation of drinking and processed water, which had supplied drinking water to the city for more than 300 years, for the innovative and evolving hydraulic engineering, for generating power from water, for the continuous exemplary use of water resources for sustainable water management. The TEN has been working for more than 700 years. The state of conservation of the nominated property is overall adequate, despite damages suffered by Augsburg in World War II. The main factors affecting currently the property include development and transport infrastructure, pressure, environmental factors, and potential natural disasters. A proactive conservation approach, though, has been established. The state party has fully harnessed the evaluation process. An expanded and more focused comparative analysis has demonstrated that the water management system in Augsburg has no comparator for the separating of drinking and processed water and to the ingenious system to lift and channel waters. The Augsburg fountain masters contributed to this development and exported their experience to cities in Belgium, France, Austria, as well as other places in Germany. Throughout the evaluation process, the boundaries of the nominated property have been expanded to include some key elements, as well as to expand significantly the buffer zone, which now include the city forest, the source of groundwater, and the immediate setting of key elements within the property. The canals enjoys a 5-meter buffer of legal protection. ICOMOS in this regard suggests to undertake further exploration on how the buffer zone relates to the broader setting to reinforce the protection, particularly of canals and watercourses. The comparative analysis proved that the property deserved consideration for the World Heritage List according to criterion 2 and 4. On the other hand, the argument supporting criterion 6 complements the justification of the 2 recognized criteria, although do not support criterion 6. Integrity and authenticity conditions have been met. The protection of the property is adequate and include legal and planning protection instruments. The management system includes a World Heritage Office established by the Augsburg municipality to coordinate the implementation of the management plan, which is already in place. ICOMOS, therefore, recommends that the water management system in Augsburg, Germany, is inscribed on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 2 and 4, and there are 2 additional recommendations that have been explained just earlier. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we have the presentation from ICOMOS. Now, any comments from the delegations? I don't see anyone who wants to speak. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. The water management system of Augsburg is an exceptional example of sustainable system of water management and the utilization of water resources in history. The water quality management was of the modern urban level, which has been achieved through continuous development and innovation, creating a beautiful and livable urban life lasting for 700 years, which is of great significance to today's urban governance. We sincerely congratulate Germany on its inclusion on the water heritage system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The water management system of Augsburg is a sustainable system of water management evolved in successive phases through the city's application for innovative hydraulic engineering, demonstrating an exemplary use of water resources over the course of more than 7 centuries to the present day. Water and Augsburg's strategic location at the crossroads of important trade routes in south-central Germany were key foundations of the growth and prosperity of the city, its population and its status as a flourishing trading metropolis. The architectural and technological monuments in the nominated property preserve successive socio-technical ensembles that are vivid testimonies to the city's continuous and successful urban administration and management of water. Having said all this, we anticipate that the city's development and the potential project may evolve. In that sense, we support recommendation of ICOMOS for the heritage impact assessment to be done for the future project if may happen. Having said, we congratulate the state party for this nomination and supports the inscriptions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie voudrait tout d'abord remercier ICOMOS pour la qualité du rapport qui nous a été soumis et également revenir au dossier présenté par l'État partie pour souligner sa grande qualité et son importance pour la complétude de notre liste du patrimoine mondial. La question de la gestion de l'eau a été toujours au cœur de l'organisation des sociétés humaines. Et ici, nous avons une addition d'un élément ingénieux qui remonte à une période assez reculée, extrêmement intéressante. Et on voit que l'État partie a présenté déjà des éléments qui garantissent la bonne conservation de ce site. Ce site vient ou viendrait s'ajouter à une série de sites sur notre liste du patrimoine mondial relative à la question de gestion de l'eau. J'ai en tête le site de Kérouan en Tunisie avec une très belle mécanique et une très belle ingénierie liée à la gestion de l'eau de l'État aghlabite. Voici donc un dialogue à distance géographique et à distance chronologique pour les mêmes besoins de la cohérence de nos sociétés humaines. Encore une fois, félicitations à l'État partie.
Thank you very much. State party.
No.
Okay. So, do we have any draft additions?
We have no draft amendments.
Thank you very much. So we proceed then to approval of the decision. If there are no other opinions and objections, may I declare the decision 43-8B.28 adopted as amended. Our sincere congratulations to the state party. We congratulate Germany with the inscription, and we would like to give the floor to the representative of the Germany. Ambassador, you are welcome.
Mr. Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of the German delegation, I would like to thank ICOMOS and the World Heritage Committee very much for this inscription, Choch Sarol, and I would like to pass the floor to the representative of the city of Augsburg, Mr. Thomas Weitzel.
Dear Mr. Chair, dear members of the World Heritage Committee and advisory bodies, let me first extend our profoundest gratitude on behalf of the city of Augsburg and the German federal state of Bavaria for inscribing the water management system of Augsburg on the World Heritage List. We would also like to thank ICOMOS sincerely for their professional and constructive evaluation and the positive recommendation. I furthermore would like to take the opportunity to thank the whole team which elaborated over the last years with great efforts and responsibility, scientific and practical experience the nomination process. We all thank the committee for inscribing an 800-year-old water management system on the World Heritage List, an urban landscape of canals, monumental fountains, water towers, waterworks and power plants, which has become an example for a sustainable use of water resources over the course of more than 7 centuries to the present day. The technique invented in Augsburg and the sustainable separation of drinking and processed water was an important source for the development of the city, for its richness in art, for industrial inventions, and for new hygienic standards for the community. The decision appreciates vivid testimonies to the city's continuous and successful urban administration and management of water. The city of Augsburg and the federal state of Bavaria considers the inscription of the water management system on the World Heritage List as a great honor. We proudly accept the obligation to safeguard, conserve, and present these important monuments for our future generations and for the humanity as a whole, especially if we consider that the United Nations demanded that at least in 2030, all people should have access to clean drinking water. The commitment of the city of Augsburg is, for example, best showcased by the latest obligation to become a member of the worldwide network Blue Community. We are recognizing water as a human right, and we are promoting publicly financed, owned, and operated water and wastewater services. As the Augsburg fountain masters and pump engineers exported the technological experience from the 16th century onto several European cities, we like to share and convey this history and knowledge now with the world community. Dear Mr. Chair, dear members of the World Heritage Committee, thank you very much for the inscription.
Thank you very much, and once more congratulations for inscription. Now we are moving to the next item, which is document 8B.29. I would like to invite ICOMOS to present the nomination Grzemionki Prehistoric Stripped Flint Mining Region, Poland. Welcome, ICOMOS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The Grzemionki Prehistoric Striped Flint Mining Region is a set of 4 prehistoric and protohistoric mining sites. I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint to appear, Mr. Chairperson.
Can you bring the item to the screen, please? No, it is not. Can we have the file on the screen, please, technician? Some technical issues. Just not to lose the time, I would like to give you information that today at 6:30, but 7, we will start at 7 o'clock in the International Mugam Center, which is next to the Carpet Museum. It is another architectural building. We have a special evening of jazz prepared by our Mali musicians. They came from Mali especially to make this concert today. The group consists of the representative of Mali, Guinea, France, Burkina Faso, and Azerbaijani musicians. So for those who are interested in jazz, we invite you to be there at 7 o'clock just to enjoy the nice music. So the buses will be ready to assist your transportation to the site after 6 o'clock. This is one brief information. So now we have it on the screen, and ICOMOS, you can move to the file. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The prehistoric striped flint mining region, Chemyanki, is a set of 4 prehistoric and protohistoric mining sites dating from the Neolithic and the Bronze Age. The raw material, a bluish gray striped flint, is an Upper Jurassic limestone. The property is composed of 3 flint extraction and 1 settlement site connected to the mining activity with an overall size of close to 350 hectares. Chemyanki Opastovskie is the largest of the 4 components selected in terms of extraction and export volume, and is also the best documented, with 4,000 shafts recorded over an area of 78 hectares. 5 extraction systems on this site have been described, ranging from shallow pits to large underground galleries and chamber mines. The underground mining system is particularly remarkable in dimension, with some of the mining chambers extending up to 500 square meters. The nature of the geological substrate, a very hard limestone, explains the stability of the surrounding rock mass, which enabled the extensive horizontal development of galleries and thus exhaustive mining of the flint beds during the Neolithic period, but also the conservation of these underground workplaces, allowing them to be accessed by visitors today. The remains document some major aspects of production organization and use and transmission of techniques. These are linked to the deposit enabling the hollowing out of the largest known underground chamber for the prehistoric exploitation of flint. ICOMOS considers that the polished axes produced and their scale of distribution are emblematic of the Neolithic period. Although the Borovnina and Koryshishna component sites have not yet been subjected to thorough excavations, the mining landscape contains further shafts and chambers. Here, the preservation of the surface remains thanks to the conservation of the Neolithic mining landscapes and enables an understanding of the exploitation processes. The site of Gavranets is the source of a very rich set of flint artifacts, illustrating that its resident community was directly involved in working at the flint mining sites. ICOMOS considers that the property meets criteria 3 and 4, as well as authenticity. However, ICOMOS is concerned about the condition of integrity in terms of intactness. This concern arises from a combination of factors, including a not yet fully functional buffer zone, negative impacts of a working quarry, and the need for the management plan to be effective to ensure the adequate protection and management of the property. ICOMOS considers that management of the property and the proposed cultural park will require clarification, as will the way in which the local development plans provide an additional level of protection. ICOMOS considers that while the property meets criteria 3 and 4, integrity is not yet sufficiently demonstrated, and ICOMOS therefore recommends that the nomination of Szemjanki prehistoric strap flint mining region, Poland, be referred back to the state party to finalize the legal protection for the property and to take appropriate measures to reduce the impact of the working limestone quarry. ICOMOS further recommends including heritage impact assessment processes within the management system of the property and to ensure that the research objectives remain adequate in view of the conservation plan. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have any comments? Hungary, I see. Please, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hungary congratulates the State Party for its excellent work on the nomination dossier and thanks ICOMOS for its thorough evaluation. Hungary agrees that Szemjanki prehistoric striped flint mining region is worth to be inscribed on the World Heritage List because of its historical significance, because of the well-based nomination file, because of the fact that its products, first of all the striped flints, were distributed in large areas. ICOMOS acknowledged the proposed criteria 3 and 4, the authenticity and integrity, also the management of the property, and required only some clarifications, gave some recommendations. Taking into account that the property is under full legal protection and that the working limestone quarry in the buffer zone will be closed soon, that some of the recommendations of the ICOMOS have been already fulfilled or put in progress by the State Party, there can be not any bigger objection against its better evaluation. Therefore, Hungary proposes to inscribe the property on the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nominated property Grzymionki prehistoric stripped flint mining region consists of 4 mining sites dating from the Neolithic to the Bronze Age, where stripped flint was mined and processed. The nominated property covers a wide range of mining techniques, and the same site, Grzymionki Opatovsky, with more than 4,000 extraction structures. This site is the largest one and has been investigated since 1923 and under the state protection since 1945, when the site was given official historical monument status and the reserve was officially created. Thank you very much for ICOMOS evaluation and report. According to the ICOMOS report, the state conservation is satisfactory, and ICOMOS considers that the local land development plans must clearly establish
the nominated property meets criteria 3 and 4, the comparative analysis justifies consideration of the property for the World Heritage List. After the evaluation of all presented information and documents by state party, we could strongly say that most part of recommendations were already done and other under the implementation. As a sample, we could underline that development pressure in the Grzymionsky region is very limited. There is no evidence threats coming out from development. Local development plans will ensure that the buffer zones provide an additional level of protection for the nominated property. A long-term strategy and program of archaeological research is under development. All the respective local governments and agencies responsible for heritage protection accepted the management plan and signed an agreement to cooperate and organize themselves in order to make the protection, conservation, and presentation of the nominated property as effective as possible. State party agrees with the Commons that cultural park is a legal form of protection dedicated to cultural landscape. Its introduction was announced in the nominated dossier, the process of the establishment, and has been initiated in June of this year. Taking into the consideration all above mentioned points, our delegation suggests to inscribe nominated property, Grzymionsky prehistoric strip flint mining region, on the World Heritage List under the criteria 3 and 4. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Bahrain, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have carefully reviewed the nomination file and subsequent documentation of ICOMOS and the state party. We understand that the concerns towards the integrity of part of the serial site and its legal protection might have been already addressed by the state party, and would like to ask the delegation of Poland to be given the floor to clarify that to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. The Grzymionsky prehistoric striped flint mining region is an unusually large-scale prehistoric mining site in the world, which provides a unique witness to the mining technology, production, and life, and the social organization in the early human history. China thanks Poland for adding this important heritage onto the World Heritage List. We concur with the point made by Hungarian delegation and Azerbaijan and also Bahrain that we feel that it is there is, in view of the exceptional value of this property, there is no need to delay the inscription of this very important and unique property. We welcome information that the nominated property has been granted the full legal protection, the management plan has been developed, and its implementation has been already started, as well as the creation of a cultural park. We therefore support the amendments proposed to the draft amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It might not come as a surprise that Norway listens carefully to the recommendation given by the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center, and that we support the draft decision. We find it important to respect the referral mechanism as a checkpoint or a kind of a point of reflection towards the inscription and a final approval of the UE as referred to in paragraph 77 and 78 of the operational guideline. However, in this case, we won't go against consensus. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Polonia realmente nos tiene acostumbrado a el estudio, protección y gestión de sitios verdaderamente relevantes vinculados con la minería. De hecho, quienes estuvimos en Hace 2 años en Cracovia, pues tuvimos la oportunidad de visitar lugares excepcionales vinculados con esta actividad. Creo que esta nominación viene a redondear precisamente esa identificación de sitios con un valor universal excepcional, y creo que también en el expediente y toda la información brindada, pues se nos brinda las garantías de que ese saber en gestionar sitios como este, el país lo puede garantizar. Por tanto, estamos apoyando la enmienda presentada por Hungría. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
United Republic Tanzania congratulates the State Party of Poland for interesting dossier of a serial property comprising 3 stripped fleet extraction sites and 1 settlement. Tanzania thanks ICOMOS for a comprehensive report and analysis in one of the largest and most significant prehistoric mining region in the world. Chair, my delegation notes with certification that ICOMOS consider that the comparison analysis justify consideration of this property for World Heritage List. We have also noted that out of the 3 criteria proposed for nomination, ICOMOS consider that the property meets 2 criteria, namely criteria 3 and criteria 4. Chair, it is our understanding that ICOMOS does not deny the integrity of the component of this series nomination. It concerned with the condition of integrity of the whole. Yet, my delegation has been informed on the new initiative which has been realized by the State Party since the beginning of this year. It is important also to note that according to the ICOMOS, the nomination meets condition of authenticity. Chair, my delegation has also an information indicating that the State Party has already started to implement all of 5 recommendations from ICOMOS proposed to better protect and conserve this nomination. Considering the position of ICOMOS, coupled with the new information provided by the State Party, my delegation is confident that the State Party is able to fulfill its obligation to protect and conserve the nomination under proposed criteria. As such, Tanzania agrees with the position of Bahrain and Azerbaijan and support the amendment proposed by the distinguished delegate of Hungary to inscribe this nomination on the World Heritage List. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Spain, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Todos ustedes saben que somos absolutamente defensores de los informes técnicos, sin menoscabo de que se pueda mantener con eso una buena relación entre Estados y entre países, pero es mucho lo que nos jugamos en este comité en cuanto a la misión que tiene encomendada. Aún así, reconociendo y dándole un voto de confianza al país en que cumplirá las medidas correctoras que se especifican, de acuerdo con la enmienda que se ha presentado, y siguiendo la orientación que ha marcado hace un momento la delegación de Noruega, no seremos nosotros los que rompamos el consenso, pero sí aprovechamos la ocasión para recordar que el crédito y la confianza que tiene que hacer manifiesto este comité en sus valoraciones tiene que estar siempre antepuesta a las posibles voluntades políticas que podamos tener o las mejores o peores relaciones. Este comité será lo que es mientras sea capaz de mantener su esencia. Y cuando empiece a perderla, será muy difícil recuperar el crédito que en este momento tiene en todo el mundo. Pero ya insisto, nosotros no seremos los que nos opongamos a un consenso y a dar la oportunidad al país a que pueda completar su expediente y ser inscrito.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brazil, I'd like to commend the Poland for proposing this nomination and ICOMOS for its report. We would welcome more comparative analysis in order to verify criterion 1, but as it seems to be a growing consensus in the room for an inscription under criteria 3 and 4, Brazil would join the consensus in that sense. We believe that in terms of legal protection and management, the measures are, even though they could be improved, they are adequate for protecting the property. Since the conditions of authenticity have been met, we would join our colleagues of Bahrain and ask the State Party if they could provide some more clarifications on the conditions of integrity for the protection of this property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Burkina Faso, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation remercie également ICOMOS pour son rapport analytique sur ce bien. De l'avis de l'organe consultatif, le bien en série proposé pour inscription constitue un exemple exceptionnel car les sites offrent la possibilité de reconstituer l'organisation des activités spécialisées ainsi que les activités domestiques se déroulant à proximité des fosses d'extraction. Ces informations sont dans la plupart des cas inaccessibles aujourd'hui. ICOMOS indique en outre que l'analyse comparative est satisfaisante et que la prise en compte de ce bien sur la liste du patrimoine mondial est pleinement justifiée. Nous notons en outre la mise en œuvre des recommandations telles que l'élaboration du plan de gestion et la création de parcs culturels. Certes, des informations complémentaires restent encore à fournir par l'État partie, mais la disposition favorable et constructive de l'État partie nous conforte à soutenir, comme bien d'autres l'ont relevé, la proposition de l'inscription de ce site très important et unique sur la liste du patrimoine mondial, selon la recommandation de l'ICOMOS sur la base des critères 3 et 4. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. We have addition to the proposed text by ICOMOS. It is initiated by Hungary. So I would like to give the floor to a rapporteur to update us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As flagged, Hungary has proposed amendments to this decision to inscribe the property. The second paragraph would read, inscribes Szemionki prehistoric striped flint mining region, Poland, on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3 and 4. Paragraph 3 would take note of the following provisional statement of outstanding universal value, which follows. New paragraph 4 would read, requests the state party to, and paragraph A, former paragraph 2A there is deleted. New paragraph A, continue implementation of the management plan to ensure the effective protection of the nominated property. The next para or subpara is unamended. Next one would read, finalise as soon as possible the process of creating the cultural park in order to make the buffer zones effective. The next subpara is unamended. Former paragraph 3 remains unamended but will become paragraph 5. And there's a new final paragraph proposed. Requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 December 2021 a report on the implementation of the above-mentioned recommendations for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 46th session in 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. During the intervention, there were several questions concerned with the position of the state party. May we first, before going to discussion of the draft, to ask the state party to make their intervention and give explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Firstly, I would like to thank the committee for the opportunity to provide additional information. Secondly, I would like to remind that in the opinion of ICOMOS, consideration of this property for the World Heritage List is fully justified. Regarding ICOMOS' recommendation for referral, the delegation of Poland is happy to provide firm assurance to the committee that the few noted issues have in recent months all been appropriately addressed. The procedure for strict legal protection of the Gawroniec settlement component part has been finalized. It was inscribed on the Register of Monuments by virtue of decision of the 28th of February this year. Our respective local governments and agencies responsible for protection, as well as the Szemionki Museum and State Forest authorities, endorsed the management plan and signed an agreement, letter of intent, on the 19th of February 2019. they cooperate in order to make the protection, conservation and preservation of the nominated property fully effective. The quarry located in the buffer zone of the Korychizna mining field has limited impact on the proposed OUV of the nominated property. The quarry is located next to residential and recreational areas, which effectively already means that possible negative impact are controlled at the appropriate level. Further, new concessions of quarrying will not be issued due to the strong opposition by local communities and by the strategic partnerships of the nominated property to the continuity of such activity. Local municipalities of Bodzechów, Ćpielów and Ożarów have already launched the process of the creation of the cultural park by signing a letter of intent on the 14th of June this year. Development pressure in the Krzemionki region is extremely limited. Local development plans, which are a condition for the establishment of cultural park, will ensure that the buffer zone provides an additional level of protection for the nominated property. Polish authorities have already taken key actions of immediate and long-term impact to improve understanding, protection and management of the property. Therefore, Poland would highly appreciate the value support of the World Heritage Committee members for the inscription of the Krzemionki prehistoric strip flint mining on the World Heritage List during this session of the committee in Baku. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Taking into consideration decisions made by this committee earlier today, Norway would like to change paragraph 6 into request the state party to submit the World Heritage Center by 1st December 2020, a report on the implementation of the above-mentioned recommendations for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 45th session in 2021.
Can we accept this? Thank you. Can we accept this? Fine. So, during all intervention, it was expressed the common opinion to support the idea. Angola, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Si nous croisons le paragraphe 6 et nous remontons sur la traduction en français, sur l'expression « as soon as possible », je pense que c'est le... Voilà, c'est le point C. OK. En fait, il y a une question de nuance. L'anglais, c'est bien « as soon as possible ». Quand on le dit « dès que possible » en français, ça laisse des marges. En fait, est-ce qu'on peut améliorer le français en disant, par exemple, « achever le plus tôt que possible » ou « le plus rapidement possible ». Donc, en fait, derrière, il y a une question d'urgence, en fait. Si on dit « dès que possible », en français, c'est comme si ça laissait des portes que, bon, voilà, si vous avez le temps, dès que vous aurez le temps, vous pouvez le faire. Donc, voilà la nuance.
Thank you. Can we make changes in the text? It's done already. Can we approve in this version? In French version also? No objections. Okay. So should we go to the approval of the newly proposed draft in whole? I don't see any objections. Therefore, I declare the decision 43.8b.29 adopted in a new version. We congratulate Poland with the inscription of this very important site, and I will like to give the floor to the state party. Please, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I wish to congratulate you, Mr. Chairperson, for your leadership at the government of Azerbaijan for the efforts invested in organizing the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee and your great hospitality here in Baku. On behalf of the State Party of Poland and the Minister of Culture and National Heritage, I would like to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to all the members of the committee for inscribing the Krzemionki prehistoric stripped flint mining on the World Heritage List. Especially, I would like to thank our distinguished colleagues from Hungarian delegation for giving us the opportunity to present our updated information. Let me also express my gratitude to ICOMOS for their condemning remarks. We welcome them with satisfaction and an appreciation for the hard work reflected in our nomination dossier. Finally, I would like to address special thanks to all people involved in the process of preparing the nomination file, especially the experts from the Krzemionki Archaeological Museum and Reserve, the state forest authorities, and the National Heritage Board of Poland. As a country with a long tradition of strict and chance to heritage protection rules, we are honored that the next nomination from Poland has been acknowledged as the World Heritage Site. Now, allow me to pass the floor to the representative of the people engaged in the nomination process. Kasia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Krzemionki prehistoric stripped flint mining region is inscribed on the World Heritage List. That's the dream of many that came true. Dear Chairperson, committee members, advisory bodies, Your Excellencies, let me express our gratitude to all of you, gratitude on behalf of Polish archaeologists, geologists, mining engineers, landscape architects, biologists, inhabitants of the Krzemionki region, and many, many others. The justification of Krzemionki region's significance and the list of its value and attributes is long. Krzemionki are the evidence of wisdom and courage of our ancestors who were living and working there for far over 2,000 years. They changed their world, and now they are changing our lives through the heritage they have left. Thank you once again on behalf of our great-grandparents and new generations to come. Thank you.
Permit me once more on behalf of the committee members to congratulate you with this inscription. And honorable members of the committee, dear delegates, with that point we are finishing today's afternoon session. Tomorrow we will start our consideration at 10 o'clock, and note that bureau members have to be in the room at 9:30 to update the procedure. Have a nice evening and join to the jazz wherever you want.